Hello, everyone. Welcome to Dear Work Wives. If you can't tell, I'm Adrienne.
And I'm Emily. And Adrienne has lost her voice, but it's okay because we persevere and we're going to do this anyway.
That's right. I don't know. I do know. I have a toddler who goes to daycare, and so
Yeah.
this is my life.
It is your life, but I was thinking about this the other day. I think when I was listening to clips, like to pull them for social media, but my knock on wood, my kids have not been sick in weeks and weeks, and we have seasons, right? So we're coming
Yeah,
into the season where I feel like we don't get sick anymore. Like in the winter, I'm like, okay, it's back to back to back. Someone's always sniffling. But then
yeah,
in the spring, it's maybe some allergies, and then we're generally pretty good through the summer until late fall again. But you don't have like that seasonal thing. So you're just
yeah.
the germs just fester in that humid climate.
Yeah, it's like, should we be sick less? Because you said you get less sick during the summer, and basically
Yeah,
it's like always summer for us. So you would think
right.
we would get less sick, but
You seem to be more sick in the summer. Maybe it's because that's your indoor season because it's so hot
oh yeah,
outside,
yeah,
whereas we're outside all summer, you know? So you're
yeah.
less like, forced to be together.
I don't know, someone who has like more awareness of cold seasons in Florida probably would have a better answer. But to
Yeah.
be honest, like before I had kids, I used to just never get sick at all.
Well, I
And
wonder
now,
why.
so I didn't know like what's a seasonal, I wasn't
Yeah.
really paying attention to that. But now it just seems like all the time. It doesn't really matter what the weather is. It's just like who in her daycare brought something
Is
in here.
sick. Totes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the other day she was coughing and she was like, Daddy gave me this cough. And I was like, I don't think Daddy gave you that cough because he didn't have a cough. And I was
Right.
like, is anyone at your daycare, is anyone at school coughing like that? And she named three other kids. I was like, okay. So maybe
Oh
you got it from
gosh.
them.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
But like this sore throat or whatever this is, like I lost my voice this morning. It was not like this yesterday. It's like this today. But on Friday, I got the dreaded call from school.
So and so has thrown up.
I
Come pick
just,
them up. Yeah.
yes, I had just got out of I went and got my grays covered. I got a hair appointment and I had just walked out. I was about to go do some like Father's Day errands. Had my whole afternoon free because we don't work on Fridays. So I was like, oh, got my hair done. Now I'm going to go run some errands. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
I
Womp womp.
planned this so well,
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
behind on anything now.
Not at all. Yeah.
And then literally, I just got in the car and I see the school it's calling me. I said, hi, Adrian. So kid just threw up. I'm so
Come
sorry.
now.
I have to tell you this, but you do need to come pick her up
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Our school has such a
Like,
strict policy.
okay, just got in the car. I'm on my way. She's like,
Yeah.
okay, perfect.
Yeah. Such a strict policy at our school too. If like you have 1 hour to get for someone on the approved
Oh,
list
wow.
to come pick your kid up, which like I live 2 minutes from the school and I work from home, so it's not an
Yeah.
issue for me. But there are parents who work and like couldn't just immediately get up and walk out. But I guess you do have to because
Yeah,
you're a
you just
parent. And
have
if the kid's
to.
school, you just be like, I have to go. Like
Yeah.
it's just how it is. I've never really had to face that issue because I've always worked here while my kids have been in school, like at
Yeah.
clockwork. So I've always just known that it doesn't matter. Like anyone will cover me. Like kids come first.
Yeah. It would have just been painful if like I was home alone or something with Coco and she was napping, for
Totally. Because
example.
then you have to
And
wake
I
them
would have
up.
to like literally wake her up to go get her. But thankfully I did not have to do that. But
Yeah.
that would be the only scenario where I would have been like, oh God, can I come in 2 hours?
Because
And
we
they would
also
have been
don't
like,
have
no,
like nurses' offices or anything,
no, she just has to sit like
in the
in,
office.
yeah. And it was
Yeah.
nap time. So apparently
Right.
like she woke up throwing up on herself.
Oh, poor
So
girl. Well, so how did your Father's Day weekend go with all this adventure?
it was fine. She like, I think that she threw up because she was coughing. So she has this like nasal drip.
Yeah.
She got sinus stuff. So then whenever she lays down and then starts coughing, it kind of, I don't know if she's choking on the phlegm or whatever. This is really gross for anyone who's not a parent. They're probably so
Like
grossed out by
skip,
this
skip, skip, skip,
conversation.
skip. Yeah.
Yeah. But for us, it's just like, whatever.
Whatever.
It just is what it is.
Yeah.
I won't tell you how she threw up in her bed and I caught it in my hands, because that's also what you do as a parent. I don't know why that is always the reaction.
Catch it.
Try to catch it.
Yeah. No.
I don't know why I do that. I'm like,
because then what do you do?
Like, did like save some of the mess. So I'm kind of glad I did, but it's just like instinct.
Yeah.
But it was fine. We had a fine weekend. She held it together for the pool day, of course, because can't keep them from having fun.
Yeah.
But I felt at least better that like, okay, this is not like a stomach bug, because if it was like a stomach bug, I would not want her around everyone, obviously.
Of course. Yeah.
But it was just like she was coughing and then, had some gag reflex, but it was good. She actually did talk to my dad a little bit, showed him like some shells from the beach. That was huge. He was very excited.
Yeah, so. That's nice.
Yeah.
She's growing up and she's talking to people.
I know. It's wild.
Yeah.
It was just like a very busy, like when you're like, for family, when you just like, oh, we have to be here at this time, we have to do this at this time, and like when we got back from brunch yesterday, it was just like, oh my god, I just don't want any plans.
That was
want to have to get these children somewhere, have them like having everyone dressed. Like we went to brunch and I was like, okay, I'm getting both of my children dressed in like nice outfits that they wear once a year, getting myself dressed, getting Tyler dressed. So we better get a picture first of all.
Well, you did, and you looked so cute.
Thanks. I literally had like 10 minutes to get myself ready, but
of course
it is what it is, right? But yeah, she was like excited to go to brunch until I think she realized what brunch was. So.
Right. Yeah. We had the same experience.
She was like, I don't want to miss it. I don't want to be late, mommy. Like she was excited to like wear her pretty dress. And then like we got there and I was like, it's just like food and you have to like sit down.
Yeah.
No, she was not about that, But there was a dessert table, which she was really into.
Perfect.
And I sent Tyler away for 2 days for his Father's Day. So he was at a hotel. Oh, I didn't tell you this. He was at a hotel last night and tonight.
Wow.
So I'm solo parenting.
Wow.
Shout out to all the single parents out there. I don't know how you do it. And this is like, I only did 1 day,
Yeah.
I'm exhausted.
He must love that though. He must be. Or he's messaging every 2 seconds being like, how are my girls?
No, we haven't got to that stage yet.
No.
But of course, this is the one. Kit is like always a mommy's girl. Like she is obsessed with me. She wants to crawl back inside my body. We've talked about that. The past like week, she decided she's a daddy's girl. And so Tyler went away yesterday to this hotel and she like cannot stop crying about it and how much she misses daddy. And I'm like, girl, get it together. Like, I thought you would be fine. Like, I never even stressed about that because it's just never been a thing for her to be upset for daddy to not be there. Like, she always wants mommy.
Yeah.
And literally yesterday, I let her nap in my bed, which she didn't nap. So yeah, I let her watch a movie in my bed.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's laying on top of me at one point, and I thought she had fallen asleep. And then all of a sudden I hear her like whimpering.
Oh my gosh.
Like, are you crying? I miss daddy. I'm like, oh my. And this was like 5 minutes after he left. I'm like, oh my God, it's going to be a long day. She FaceTimed him 3 times.
Oh my gosh. Tyler's just like, I just need some quiet time here. Like,
well, I think it's like making him feel good,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She misses me. Everybody misses me. No one can survive without me,
That's very true. I miss Tyler all the time.
Yeah, he needed that for his confidence. So
yeah,
that's where we're at.
Nice. It's exciting.
How was your Father's Day with James and
it was good. He went golfing on Sunday morning, which was that's what he wanted. And when he came home, he wanted to play a game with the kids. So we played a board game, and then we floated in the pool for the afternoon and had like a adult beverage floating in the pool while the kids played with their friends in the neighborhood. It was nice. It was very exactly what he wanted. Great. Very chill. We bought him ladder ball for Father's Day.
What is that? Is that with a game like where the ball swings?
Like 2 balls on a string and you throw it. Yeah. He loves backyard games. His favorite thing is backyard games. So we got him that. And tickets to like our local baseball team, you know, like AAA or AA, I don't know, against his hometown's team. Which the kids always get such a riot because he always goes to play like if we go to like our town's team playing his town, like he'll be the only one cheering for the other team because it's his hometown. And the kids just think it's hilarious. So, and then they chirp him the whole time.
Cute.
Usually our home team wins, so it's easier. So we'll see with this baseball stuff. But yeah, it was really chill. We had to take the kids they're going to like sleepover camp in 2 weeks. Oh. And there was an open house. And the kids really wanted to go because Lila especially is very nervous, rightfully so, you know, like understandably nervous. She wanted to go. The problem is it's 2 hours away. So we went there, which I mean, it's a gorgeous part. It's like on Lake Erie. It's a gorgeous part of the country. It's the southernmost tip of mainland Canada. It's actually lower in latitude than San Francisco, I think. So like it's beautiful, you know?
Yeah. So they're both going to that same camp. But you had to drive 2 hours there, spend the open house, and then drove 2 hours
back. Like at 90 minutes there at the open house. And then we it's a cute little beach, like lake beach town. So we had lunch on a patio and like took them to the park and like made a bit of a day of it. Yeah. But again, like you're saying, like it was just so much like get up, get ready.
Blah, Gotta blah, be blah. Here by this time.
Time, like I'm on my mission to do a walk every single day of this year. So like I have to get up. James is going golfing. I had to leave at 8. So if I wanted to get my walk in and not interrupt his Father's Day, like I had to get up at 7 to get my walk in, which I did. And we're both just like so tired. And then today, it's Monday as we're recording, which is a bit early for us, but Lila's class is going on a field trip to Toronto. She had to be at the school at 7:15.
Oh man.
And I was like, that's so early. So she had her little Alexa alarm set for 5:45 because she needed to make sure her fashion was on point to go to the science center. It's just been one of those mornings.
What do you do with Oakley when was he able to be dropped off at that time?
No. So we dropped Lila off and then him and I hit up the McDonald's drive-thru and he got him a smoothie and then came home and then walked him to the bus. So it's just one of those days where it's like, I'm so ready for school to be over. 2 more weeks. I need a break from the school routine.
And then they go to camp.
Yeah, the camp will be nice. I'm gonna do absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing. I have a few friends who were like, oh, like James and I are gonna like have some date nights when he gets off work, but like during the day, like lunch walk. I'm like, no, I don't want anything on my calendar. I don't want to be beholden to anyone. Like, I'm not even gonna make like James like gonna get a massage. Like, I'm like, no, I don't want anything. I don't want to do anything.
I don't want anything on the calendar. If I decide that day that I want to go do it, then I'll
do it. Maybe.
Then it'll be fate.
Or I'll just go back to bed. Yeah. It's my goal. So
what does your shirt say?
It's Arkells. It's a band, a Canadian band. Yeah.
I was like, does it say Aries? Does it say
no
Ariel? I couldn't see the middle part.
Oh, because of the microphone.
Yeah.
Arkells. It's one of our favorite local. Well, they're not really local. They're Canadian. But no one else. They're huge here. It's one of those bands, like they're massive in Canada. Like they sell out like where Ed Sheeran plays. But then outside of Canada, like no one's heard of them. So
that's bizarre.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
But it's because we're a different country, you know, than you.
But like you have different ears there or something. Like
no, but I think it's just like they're hard. It's hard to break out of your country. I'm sure there are artists that are huge in the States that haven't crossed over into like Canada or Europe.
As an American, I don't understand that concept, but I know that's just because I'm an annoying American. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I'm just like, what do you mean? Because usually most of like the really big artists are from America. So I'm like,
yeah.
Or I just even see them in my mind as American. Like Justin Bieber is not American.
He's not American. No, he's Canadian. Yeah.
But he seems like American.
He's definitely like adopted into American culture. That's for sure. So But yeah. So
Like
anyway,
Drake.
like Drake, also Canadian.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So they're not like Drake and Bieber level, but they are very famous in Canada. Like they play all of the big Canadian things. They win all
Yeah.
the big Canadian
Like
music awards.
Ed Sheeran is not American.
No, he's British. Yeah. He's not American. Yeah, you're right.
But he broke out of the UK.
He did. Opening for Taylor.
So we see those people as more of a global artist, whereas the Arkells are not yet a global artist.
No, correct. That's like a really good distinction. They are definitely a Canadian art band. I'm hopeful they'll break out.
Someone who's like just an American band, you know?
Yeah.
Probably a lot of country.
I would say there's probably some like really big country stars but it's so like Canadians like absorb so much American culture, but it doesn't work both ways, you know?
Interesting.
You don't absorb any of our, because you have enough, you know?
Yeah.
Like, do you know there was a Real Housewives of Toronto and Vancouver, and they were both phenomenal?
Why didn't I get to watch them?
I don't know, but I'll give you my Hey You login and you can watch them because they're both so good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we
Yeah,
jump into
let's do
some
it.
stories?
Let's do it since we chit-chatted for as long as I think our listeners will allow.
Yeah. If you all have a story, please go and submit at dearworkwives.com. Or if you have a question, we would love to hear it.
Yes,
But
we
need your submissions.
We need them. Submit dearworkwives.com. Or you just like DM us on Instagram, you know, whatever's easiest for you. Like whatever works. Just submit your story and we'll talk about it on air. Yeah. Okay, you ready? For the first story? This is from Micromanaged right out the door. I found myself in a position where my supervisor has suddenly decided they have a problem with me and my work environment has become extremely toxic and unhealthy. After submitting some PTO requests and bringing up some concerns, my supervisor went from being very friendly to cold and critical. Even though I regularly meet and exceed metrics and qualify for our bonuses, I never seem to be doing enough. We are constantly criticized and micromanaged. Long story short, I know I need a new job, but I'm not in a position to quit and have a feeling she is going to try to make my life miserable until I am forced to quit. Do you have any tips or feedback on how to survive until I'm in a position to leave? Also, as I was reading that, I just had a panic attack thinking we weren't recording, but we are. So any tips or trick of like how to survive? You know, we talk about this all the time. Like, yeah, in a perfect world, you can just leave an environment that doesn't work for you. But that's not the reality for most people. You have to put other things in place first. So how do people survive that in between?
Yeah, get your plan in place, get your exit plan in place so that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for you. I think like, have you said anything to them? You know, I think the fact that you get all these accolades in terms of good performance reviews and bonuses, like, why doesn't this person feel they need to micromanage you? You know, like what's going on there? Maybe asking them if there's something that you're doing that they don't trust or that they'd like to see improved. You know, similar to the like when we were talking about when someone makes like an inappropriate comment and you just are like, wait, I don't get it. Like, yeah. Kind of the same approach to like, oh, I don't really get it. You know, I don't get why you're micromanaging me, kind of like come from a curiosity perspective so that they have to explain themselves because maybe they'll feel dumb or like maybe their insecurities will expose themselves of like, oh, I'm clearly just a control freak or I don't have a reason, you know, and then maybe it will become more clear to them that they are the problem versus you. Yeah. I feel like if you're at the point where you're going to start putting your exit plan in place or you're like, okay, I'm going to leave, like, what do you have to lose by just standing up for yourself a little bit? Yeah. By saying like, what's the problem? Being more like, why are you asking me? What's the problem here? Like what, you know, just be very direct whenever you feel like you're being micromanaged or when they're, you know, trying to make your life miserable, like stand up for yourself. What's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to fire you. Well, if they fire you without cause, then like potentially you're protected under that anyway, wherever you are. Depending on what state you're in.
Yeah, depending where you are. Or you could, it could just be the push you need to, and it's not like you're going to speak up for yourself one time and they're going to fire you. I think it would be more if you start holding those boundaries up and they're, like you're saying, being confronted with their own toxic behavior and are unwilling to change and are like, oh, we'll just get rid of you then. Like, hopefully it's been enough time that you've got a plan in place. But I would just be standing up for myself at this point. Like, give it back to them essentially, but in a respectful way, not in an attitude way. Like, just be professional and respectful.
Don't give attitude, but be direct, be direct, but kind. And then, don't let them, like, cause they mentioned, being pushed out and, oh, they're going to like force me to quit. Like, no, just be direct, but kind, and let them expose themselves maybe,
Yeah. I think generally people are going to kind of dig their own graves in these situations because they might actually start giving you, I mean, I know that they're your supervisor, but it's possible they have a supervisor. So they could start giving you, not ammo, but I can't think of a better word to take to their superior. Yeah. Evidence would be a better word. Thank you.
I don't know if it's the right word, but yeah, better than
ammo
would be.
Examples,
Yeah.
Because it sounds like they're the problem, not you.
Right.
So anyway, that's
are all you thinking of is the Taylor Swift song?
It's me. I am the problem.
That's what I kept thinking of as I was saying it too.
I know.
I'm annoying myself.
The second you said it, it popped into my head and I was like, Emily, it's not, like, stop. I can't even talk about it.
Taylor Swift song, Adrian and Emily.
I mean, it is though. That's the thing.
I know.
It is. Oh, I didn't update on our last episode. I said that I had permission to go to the Taylor Swift concert. And then I spent my entire day on Friday staying alert on Ticketmaster, or Thursday, to get tickets because they do a drop on Thursdays. And I'm on following all the Twitter accounts. James is logged in on his. I'm ready. We're all ready. And they dropped tickets, and it was for verified fans only, which I wasn't a verified fan for Pittsburgh. I had applied for Detroit because that's closer to me. So, but they didn't do that in Detroit. Anyway, it's all just like, that was kind of the last, like, the nail in the coffin. There's no hope. There's no hope now of going. And then I cried about it. So yeah.
There is Canadian hope. Okay.
There's Canadian hope. Yes. But but that seems equally as challenging right now. So, but anyway,
it's gonna happen.
I will not be going to Taylor Swift because Ticketmaster has made it impossible for you to buy tickets. I do respect that, like, people who applied to become verified fan for Pittsburgh or Minneapolis, like, are getting first dibs on those tickets. I do think that's actually more equitable. But as someone who didn't know, nobody knew what was going to happen. And now everyone's kind of like, well, I never had a chance to get a ticket, so I should have some sort of chance,
Yeah.
So anyway, I will not be going to Taylor Swift, and so R.I.P.
You told me you're gonna just be grateful for the time that you did get to go.
I know, that's what you're saying. Be like, you're right.
You did get to go.
I did get to go, but Lila did not. So
yeah,
that's what the Canadian hope needs to be for Lila.
Yes.
Okay. I just needed to close that loop because I know the people were very curious. I could tell. They were like, did she go to Taylor or not? Obviously, that would have been the first thing I talked about. So I did not go. And then she played the last time. So
I know, it was so good.
Okay. The next submission is from Mat Leave Drama. I don't love Mat Leave Drama, but I do think these are always such interesting conversations. So I'm at the tail end of my 9 months of maternity leave. Side note, she works for her cousin. And during the last 7 months, there's been a few crises at work. Work called me. I fixed it. They should not have been calling me because I'm on mat leave, but these were legitimate crises, so I handled them. However, because I'm entering the end of my mat leave, I want some time completely free of work to recharge before I have to go back. So 2 weeks ago, I stopped answering my phone. However, my boss, who is also her cousin, tried to call me about a week ago to get help with a client. I had passed this client on to another team member, as you do. Something went wrong. They called for my help. I didn't answer. We lost the client. I knew their contract was up for renewal, but I didn't think there would be any issues, so I saw no reason to check my phone. My boss is furious with me for not having my phone turned on when I knew that client would be up for renewal. He also said that as I had been answering my phone this whole time, I should have warned people that I would not be anymore. I've called the client and tried to fix it, but they've already signed on with someone else. My cousin boss is saying I now need to be on call essentially for the remainder of my maternity leave, as we have other clients who are coming up for renewal. What should I do?
Yikes.
Here, that's
Okay.
illegal. Like, that's very illegal. So you have to be paid for that. So, and if you're on mat
Yeah.
leave, that would impact your like government support. So it's a hard no.
How long did she say she had been on mat leave
She's
right
been
now?
on mat leave for 7 of her 9 months. She has 2 months left.
Okay. So I don't know, like if she's in this, obviously we have limited
Yeah.
information, but if she's in the States, I don't know like what her policy is, how
Right.
much, like there's nothing that we get from our government. So I don't know if it's illegal or not
Right.
for them to be reaching out, but I would look into that, if this is your submission, or like what is the legalities of you being on official mat leave and being contacted, or the expectations of that.
Yeah.
That aside, couple things that we could have done better, like, is one, clockworking it before you left, right? Like there's obviously some things that don't run well without you, that is unfortunate, and maybe could have, like, maybe there's an opportunity to improve those for the next time or the next person as well. Because it should have been known that you were going to be out this long. So why is it like a big surprise that,
Yeah.
when it should have been known that this person was going to be up for renewal. So like, what was their plan? Like, what was their plan when this person was coming up for renewal and they knew you were not going to be there? So that, I think, is like hindsight. Of course, we can't fix that now, but
Yeah.
maybe there's something that we could have done to prepare better. And maybe this is something for just people listening, if they're going on any sort of leave in the future,
Over
clockworking,
prepare.
preparing, for like not just the normal day to day, but like what are the other things that are going to come up while you're out that normally you deal with, that we need to make sure other people can handle. The second thing is, I do think that you, unfortunately, like, it was their fault for reaching out to you, but then like I understand feeling like you had to answer, but then maybe there was like a precedent set of,
Yeah.
oh, she's going to answer. So I think that may have been a little bit jarring for them for you to not answer,
And not
without
tell them.
any warning of like, hey, I'm out and I can't do this anymore. I think that probably would have gone over better. Do I think that you were required to do that? No, right? Like, I think it would have just been better handled by everyone, if the expectations were clear, either from the beginning or when you like redecided, I'm not answering anymore, like I need to be fully unplugged, so that they weren't expecting you to answer or getting themselves, you kind of set the precedent for, I will be answering during my maternity leave, and then they were a little bit shocked when you didn't. So I don't want to like victim blame this person. Like, I don't think it's their fault, but I think that's where maybe things got a little bit muddy for everyone, is answering and then cutting them off.
Yeah.
I think that you can set an expectation now of like, if they're telling you need to be checking in, I think you can say no, like, this is my maternity leave. I shouldn't have been answering from the beginning. I apologize for setting that precedent of answering and then not answering, but I really need this time away so that I can be rejuvenated or feel complete or feel ready to step back in when it is time. And so now for the next month or whatever it is, I am not going to be answering, and I will return, and you can maybe pause any renewals until my return or whatever it is, if that's going to be a problem. Like you said, if you're doing work, they need to be paying you. It's not a maternity leave then.
Yeah. I think that's like the gray area for me, is like, I mean, I've been on a couple of mat leaves and had a one-off question come through that's like, oh, can you, like, when I was a pastry chef still, like this cake didn't work out. Like, I think there's, and like, it takes 2 minutes to answer a question, or like, where's the order for this cake or something like that, like, because like you said, you could clockwork to what you think is perfection, and we still don't know what unknowns are coming down the road. Right. So, if you are, like, I don't mean this, but like, if you really are that integral or that important to the success of the company, there are going to be curveballs coming at you or coming at your people who are filling in for you, which they're not going to be equipped to answer because you didn't anticipate them.
Yep.
You can try your best and there will still be things that come up. That's also why we clockwork, but usually it's for like a month, when people take their 4-week vacation, not for a mat leave is a really long time. But I do think, you could have prepared your best and these things would have come up. So to your point, you needed to establish right from the beginning, I'm available for X, Y, Z. Or I'm not available at all. And at first when I read this one, because I was like, well, I was annoyed with the cousin for being like, you must be on call. But I'm like, no, you're right. She did set the precedent of answering questions. So she should have, like, the nice thing to do would have been to say, I realize I've been answering questions. I'm not going to be answering questions for the rest of my thing. I'll see you in 2 months, and like, leave it at that. Just set your hard boundary,
Unless you like absolutely hate your cousin and hate the company you work for, I feel like you would want to do that,
Yeah. I don't think that she was wrong for being like, oh my gosh, I created a monster for myself and I need to, like, I think it's okay to realize I've made a mistake. I should not have been doing this and I need to stop. But you have to communicate that.
Yeah.
Because you essentially were operating as if you were available.
Yeah, I think everyone's kind of right here. They just need to better communicate with each other. Like, you're both right. Like, your cousin's right, but you're also right. So set some better expectations of each other. And just be clear in your communication so that things aren't negative when you get back too. And
if you are going to do any work over, if like you do decide to be on call, or if you do get like bank that time,
I'm billing you then for this,
because if you're that important, it's a lesson learned that we need to be deeper in our clockworking and delegating of what I do, but also that you need to be paying me for it. So, but good luck.
I just want to say, if you're like, what the heck are they talking about clockworking? If you're a listener here at Dear Work Wives, we have a company called Run Like Clockwork. So if you're wondering what that is, if you're a business owner, you can go to runlikeclockwork.com. We have a book, we have a podcast, we have programming to help small business owners get their business in a position where it can run without them and run without basically any singular member of your team, just getting better systems and team in place. So just wanted to give a little
back
plug.
Context. Because we were
sneaky plug and some context for what the heck that means. Cause I always use it as like a verb.
Right. But it's not. I mean, it is, but it's not as like
widely known
because we live in the echo chamber of clockwork, right? So, side note, I was responding to like Facebook messages and comments on our ads this morning, and like I do every morning. And there was a Facebook comment on one of our Clockwork Kit ads that someone like took. They're like, I'm screenshotting this and sending it to Mike. You better hope that you know Mike, otherwise this is really shady. And I was like, well, we're in partnership with Mike, so
cool.
I hope that clears it up.
Yeah.
I just
Mike
thought it was
my business
so
partner.
Funny.
For those of you who don't know, like Mike is my business partner, so please go tell him.
I just was like,
calm down.
Click on the link. Our profile picture is you and Mike. Like, I guess people do shady stuff. So on the one hand, I appreciate the integrity.
Yeah.
Yes. But also I just thought it was so funny because Like that's literally what we do. But anyway, I love a good Monday morning chuckle.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
last question we have is for today is from Raising the Bar, and it's just a straight, how do you discuss raises and salary in the workplace? Can you discuss it with your team members, and how do you prepare to ask for a raise?
What are your thoughts? Do you discuss it with team members? It's interesting.
It's really interesting
sidebar.
because equity, I think something that we focused on at Clockwork over the last few years is being a little bit more equitable about the transparency around earning potential for each particular role.
Mm-hmm.
So creating role descriptions with salary, what are those?
Ranges or
Thank
expectations.
you.
Yeah.
And so then as a team member, you can then infer that if someone is in that role, what their salary range would be without having to discuss it. But it makes it very transparent of like, this is what the entire, like everyone knows everything essentially. Like we all know what the sales commission is. We all know like what the ranges are for each position. And if you want to move up to a position with a higher salary range, it's very clear what that role would entail in terms of skills. So that prevents needing to have the discussions, but we're a small company. And then when I think about large companies where you've had people who have been there for maybe 10 years and they've hit their salary cap or something like that, or they were hired at a later, a different time in the economy, or they have better negotiating power and perhaps are making more. And this is like goes beyond just the inherent wage gap there is between men and women. I'm just talking about like roles,
Right.
So I've always been a fan of like, what is there? If there's something to hide, it's usually companies that have something to hide that say, don't talk about salary.
I didn't mean to turn my video off, but
it's okay. I was like, oh, she's leaving us. No. I think the more transparent you are, the better, because it just creates more equity on the team. And that's my 2 cents. But it's very touch and go.
I know. I'm like someone who wishes we talked like about money more transparently. Like I wish things weren't
so secretive.
Taboo. Yeah. I wish money wasn't so taboo, because I think as a woman in the workplace, I think it would help people a lot more. Like I know when I was in a corporation, I didn't know really how to negotiate well for myself. I know that there were men in like after I left, and once I was like with my partner, my now husband, that men were getting paid more than me in the same position as me, who had less responsibilities than me, because I wasn't negotiating well for myself.
Yeah. And they put the onus on the employee. You should negotiate better. No, you should just pay equitably.
Yeah. Like I didn't know at that. I was young. I was thankful to have a job, to be honest. Like I was making quote unquote more than I ever thought I would be. So I was just like thankful to have it, like don't ask for more. But I wasn't doing a good job advocating for myself. But then like when I found out from like my husband, I'm like, you were making what? Why? I'm making less and I'm doing more, at that time. So I wish it would be less taboo. I think if you're comfortable with it, I think there's nothing wrong with you talking. If you're willing to like share with other team members to, help negotiate for yourself or help them negotiate, I think you could be part of a movement that makes it less taboo. I think there's also, I don't know how this person is planning on discussing it with team members, because I also wouldn't want to like put people in a position where you're then like using it against the company necessarily, to be like, we both want more and we're because there might be certain reasons, especially as a small business owner, I know that like sometimes I can't do more, like I want to, but I can't. But team members may not be privy to that. So I think you don't want to like use it as a weapon, or you don't want to like weaponize it necessarily. But I like when people are transparent. I like when things are equitable and it's all on the table versus us having to like do this secretive dance of like, when should I bring it up? I think it's also really hard for people to bring it up, you know?
Yeah.
I think it puts a lot of pressure on you as a team member to be like, am I supposed to negotiate for myself? Like,
Yeah.
does the company have the money? I don't know. You know, like I would rather, as the leader,
Yeah.
be coming to you with,
This
here's
is
the
what's
ranges,
possible.
here's
Yeah.
what's possible,
Here's
here's
what
what
we're
our
hoping
goals
to get towards.
are.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Like, I
here's
think
like
that
when we
puts
can get
you,
there, you
yeah, like
know.
think that puts you in a more comfortable position,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise it's like a power thing. You know, there is a power dynamic
A
for us
huge power dynamic.
as business owners or leaders or people who are in positions to give raises. You know, it's already hard for people to bring up that conversation and talk about money, never mind the power dynamic that is at play. Like
Yeah.
I don't try to use that against my team in any way, shape, or form, but I am aware that it is there, you know, that it is
Yeah.
just part of the dynamic. And so I don't want to make that dynamic any more challenging for my team members. And so I try to be proactive about like the financial conversations versus at the end of like your review, you
Yeah.
having to be like,
So do I get a raise?
yeah, am I getting a raise? Like,
Yeah.
it's awkward. Like,
It's so awkward. Yeah.
that's so hard, you know?
Yeah.
And I've been in that position and I didn't advocate for myself. So I don't want to put team members in that position where they have
Yeah.
to beg me for it or whatever that power dynamic is
Yeah.
that some rich white man got off on at one point, and then like we continued as a culture to play into it, that that's
Yeah.
the only way you get a raise is if you beg for it at the end of your
Yeah. You get what you ask for. It's like, I would just like to get what I deserve. But then it's
How's
still
that?
someone else making that decision, you know?
Yes,
Because there have
yes.
definitely been seasons where I've gone into my annual review at Clockwork where like I don't have a lot of self-confidence in my ability or my role or my performance. Whenever I'm tasked with reflecting on like doing my 360 review on myself, it's terrible. It's always so negative. I'm very much a pessimistic, focus on the problem person, which in and of itself is a strength, but it's when it comes to these situations, like I'm like, can I pay you to work here? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just not good in those situations. So if you put me in a situation where I have to like
review yourself and then financially
ask for money,
yourself,
it's never going to happen.
mm-hmm.
I'll be like, I think I actually deserve a decrease in pay because I just don't believe, you know what I mean? I need the external
yes
person, right? But then that puts the onus on you to like, I mean, and that's the thing about owning a business is you get to decide those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is what our company can afford to pay its its employees. And you get to decide what each position is worth to the company. And that's like kind of your burden to bear.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. That's why I'm a huge advocate for like the ranges, the transparency, making things equitable versus like, I actually had a colleague one time who would like, and I think we did this at one point in time because I was like listening to that colleague and it was like, when you put out an application, ask them what they would like to be paid. Have them put on the application like what they want to be paid for that position.
We got the wildest responses.
Like all over the map. And it's like
$10 an hour to $80K a year.
Yeah, it was like, so that's supposed to help you find someone who's basically going to do a good job but willing to work for the cheapest amount.
The least amount, yeah.
Like that is so not equitable, you know, because there are certain people that are just never going to be able to advocate for themselves or ask for what they really need or deserve, or who are maybe in a position of poverty or vulnerability that just like need anything. And so they're going to put the lowest amount down just to get something. And it's like, that doesn't help people get out of those situations, you know, and it doesn't help pay them for what they're actually worth. It just doesn't make any like valuable, equitable sense to me. But at the time, I don't think I knew any better. And so I was just like, sure, sounds like a great idea. And now looking back on it, I'm like, that was terrible. That's not how I want people to have to advocate for themselves. I want to be transparent when people apply for jobs. I want it to be as transparent as possible when they're in their jobs, you know, just so that I don't make it a power dynamic that's uncomfortable for them. I don't know if we answered their question though.
No, I don't think we discovered like how. So in terms of discussing salary amongst your coworkers, I really do think that, in my opinion, there's nothing wrong with doing it, because if there's something shady going on, that's the only way you're going to discover it. And if there's nothing shady going to be, you shouldn't even have to, because the company should be transparent around the role ranges. That's the ideal.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and
I
maybe you can work
no
towards
one is being
that.
transparent about the finances, then maybe there is something shady going on. So sure, talk about it with each other.
Yeah. And
Well,
you can
maybe
even
you'll find
in your
something
own conversations, like give your own ranges, you know, like,
Right.
you know, I make between 40 and 50, you know what I mean? Just to give a range.
Like ballpark. Are you in that ballpark?
Ballpark, you know, like low, mid to low four, you know what I mean? Just give ballparks. You don't have to give exact numbers. Because like I remember James was a retail manager for a long time, and he made a certain amount of money, and the government was raising minimum wage, which rightfully so. I'm all for a living wage. But like the salaries of employees was not raising at the same time. So at one point, at the time he left, James, as the manager, was making $1 more an hour than part-time employees. Yeah. And he was like, this is just not, that's not representative of the value that I'm bringing to this position. Right. And to their point, it's like, well, the government is mandating that we pay this amount. And 2 years ago, we paid 75% more than that. We cannot, as a company, afford to mass hand out 25% late raises. So like, there's so many balls in play, but it's like, well, then bye. You know? Anyway, that was a total tangent, as per usual. But when it comes to discussing raises with your employer, I think the thing that I personally struggle with around raises is like, it equates your value to a dollar amount. Like, I have to prove I'm this valuable so that I can make this much money. And I think that is a really hard thing to do for a lot of people. And I don't necessarily think it's fair, but that's also like the reality, you know,
our system. Yeah.
Like we need to bring like what's the value that this position brings to the company? And this is how well I'm excelling in this position. So I deserve an increase in pay, you know, but even now just talking about it, I'm uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like I don't have a review for 2 months and I'm already like anticipating like, oh God, I'm going to have to talk about money again. Every time I have to talk about money with Tyler, he's like, you need to get over this. I'm like, I never will.
But maybe like a good question to like start things off for people is to ask your employer when it is inappropriate, or like when is a good time for us to discuss like money, or when is a good time to discuss my salary or increase or whatever. It's just so that you're like asking the question and not catching anyone off guard, so that they have their numbers in order. You have time to get your numbers in order, but you're preparing for it by even just asking the question of like, when would be a good time to discuss that.
You can absolutely, as a company, if you're listening, small business, medium business, you should systematize this. Like, you should do your reviews at the same time every year, so that your own budgeting, you know, like in August, we're going to be bumping merit salaries based on merit, but we know what those ranges are. So we're good. And then maybe potentially some of our clients do this, some don't. I think it really depends on the financial health of the business. Also doing a cost of living increase. Yeah. Like a second time of the year, separate from merit based, because those really are two completely different things, but not, it's also like you maybe can't afford to do that. And that's fine. Most places I've worked, you potentially get an annual raise, you know? Right. James works for like a very large corporate company, and they have it's very clear. They do annual reviews the same month every year, and you can get anywhere from 1% to 3% in increase depending on merit. But like that's the cap. Yeah. And we're like, okay, but cost of living went up 12%. So I'm making a 9, but that's like here nor there. But they're like, yes, that's life. Like that's the economy. But like we have corporate standards in place. And so they also have healthcare and dental and all that stuff, right? So that's the trade-off you get sometimes when you work at those large corporations, is they have the systems, they have more resources, but they have like very clear, like this is black and white. We do not deviate, because then we have to deviate for thousands of employees. Right.
And as a small business owner, like there's things that I find it best for me, my personality, to be transparent of like, here's what I want to be doing, here's our goal, and here's like where our business is at, because there are things that I want to be doing for our team that as a small business we can't afford to do, and so sometimes it's has nothing to do with someone's merit or the value that they're bringing. It has everything to do with like what you're talking about, the economy, or like we didn't grow by 12%, so I can't give everyone 12%, even though I would love to, you know what I mean? But I think that like being transparent about those conversations and about the finances as much as you can or feel comfortable with is best, so that people aren't like, oh, I must not be doing a good job, or like, oh, I guess I'm never getting a raise, or like, I hate it here, like at least being like, okay, there's a reason for this. It has nothing to do with my value, my worth, what I bring to the table. It's just like, we got to stay in business. We got to, do X, Y, Z. But I think everyone can understand the mathematics of even a large company being like, going from 3% to 12%. That's hard for us to do that for
It'd be impossible.
Thousands to tens of thousands of employees. We would put ourselves out of business, but that doesn't help
the person who's doing their grocery order and now cucumber is $5,
right? Like we're all going through that, that pinch, that like squeeze. But
I will say, as a corporation, if you're going to make that argument, then don't also post that you had your most profitable year.
Oh yeah.
Like just keep that to yourselves. You know what I mean? Like don't have that be your argument and then also have like record growth and profits, because that profit's going to shareholders and not the people actually doing the work. So it's like, again, most small businesses are not doing that. This is like a corporate dig, it's like,
that is not gonna
and it happens all the time. I do not understand companies that are like record shareholder distributions and they gave no raises or anything. You know what I mean? It's like, well, duh. Like, anyway,
I hate it here. But
I hate it here. I digress. So money conversations are so hard, but I do think it's something we should. I would love more submissions about this, because I think it's so nuanced, and a lot of it has to do with, like you're saying, from the employee side, employer side, like what we can and cannot do does not change because of what I want to do.
Yeah.
And the employees really needing to learn how to advocate and have these conversations about money and about like even just figuring out like what your position is worth to a company. Like, how do you do that? So I think it's a great conversation and people should submit more questions about it.
Same. I love to talk about money.
I know.
All right. I guess that's it.
That's all we got. I
so
say that, but
submit your stories.
At
dearworkwives.com so that we can hopefully help you.
Send us a DM on Instagram if you want. Go check it out. We got some fun reels going on over there. And
please share, leave a review, because it really does help us over on the podcast platforms, anywhere that you are listening to a podcast. On iTunes, Spotify,
Google,
Stitcher. Are we on that?
I don't know.
I don't know if that's a thing anymore.
I don't think so.
On Stitcher? Just go over to iTunes or Spotify if you're not.
And if you listen on Spotify, it's video, just FYI, if you like to watch people. Some people do. Cool. All right. Well, I guess we'll see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.